The At Home Show.
The garden was 2 days out of water, the sky 5 days out of rain, and not a cloud in sight. The heat, unbearable, the humidity so thick it felt more like swimming than walking, which is ironic considering we could all use with a good rain shower or two. Where can we turn to discover when this heat, this oppression, will end? Find out next on the At Home Show. Live from the Green Room Studios from the spacious property of Bates Nursery and Garden Center, 3810 Whites Creek Pike, it's the At Home Show with Josh Cary and David Bates.
Calm down. Save it. Hydrate. Stay cool. Watch out.
Don't be oppressed.
No, we'll be here for an hour, so we're going to it's going to be okay. Hey, this is the At Home Show. It's your Saturday morning tradition coming to you live from the Green Room Studios here.
Are you impressed if you're not oppressed?
Not necessarily.
Might be depressed.
We've got an unmuted iPad.
Oh, we have an unmuted phone.
Phone pad.
Phone pad. The iPad's not even in the room this morning, so.
Okay, so we can eliminate one device anyway.
Absolutely. All right, folks, it's Saturday morning, so it's time. Oh, it's a little warm.
Yeah,
it's a little sticky. It's a little overcast. So what's going to happen today, David?
Well, what's going to happen is that if you just look at that picture right there and let it soak in all the way across the board, and there's your there's the tail for the coming days, and we have, as you can see, a really good chance of rain, particularly tomorrow. But it kind of starts this afternoon, isolated thunderstorms. However, if you look at the radar right now, I'm not going to pull it up, but there are spots of rain everywhere. It's kind of going to be this way for the foreseeable future. So if it's not raining, there somewhere in the area it is, probably several somewheres, but it's pretty isolated in nature. Tomorrow it looks to be a bit more widespread, maybe an inch of rain. Perhaps more, maybe another half inch by Monday. And you notice that the temperatures are going to come down for a bit Sunday and Monday, 83, 82 for the high Monday, 81 on Tuesday. Then it warms back up again mid to late next week, again getting to the upper 80s to near 90. But those are not extreme temperatures.
No.
And the rains, while they do keep that humidity jacked up, are better than drought. So
certainly,
for everyone who is a gardener, and you know who you are, you got to be glad about getting these rains. It sure makes things a lot easier to take care of. And even if you have an irrigation system, rain does what an irrigation system can't do, is it rain waters everywhere equally.
At the same time?
It's all at the same time. So it gives you a chance to really get...
But we're not supposed to irrigate overhead. I've heard that on the At Home Show, that we're only supposed to water at the roots, right?
Irrigation systems may not be able to follow that rule. That is to say...
they ignore us?
Well, I'm just saying we don't really... Unless you want to go around and start tweaking people's systems in their yards, or maybe...
That's dangerous.
Changing out some heads... diffusing the pattern, there's a lot of water that gets wasted in people's yards just because they don't have their sprinkler set up right. And whether that's an individual sprinkler that you have set up, or it's a installed system that you have, it does pay to have your irrigation specialist come out and tweak it. But that only comes if you effectively, if you observe carefully what it is doing or failing to do. So taking some photographs when a zone has run to kind of show where the wet patterns are and where they aren't, can kind of help you to convey that information to your landscape contractor, to your irrigation contractor, to make adjustments. Maybe we need to add a head here. Maybe the arc can be changed on this, and maybe we need to open the diffuser up a bit, let it throw a little bit further, or choke it down some. There are a near infinite number of tweaks.
So knowing how to use your system is a key too.
Just having one in and of itself is not quite enough. You need to have an understanding of what it is that it's supposed to do, and then if it has been set up originally properly, where you have 100% coverage in all these areas that you're trying to irrigate, it can do a really good job. But sometimes things happen. Maybe whoever's cutting your grass
cuts it too low.
Well, then maybe they clip a head, or they bump it, or something changes. There's all manner of things. So this is the time of year when you need to be really paying attention to those things. However, based on the forecast we just gave you, it doesn't much look like there's going to have to be a lot of irrigation issues in the coming week. It looks like there was going to have a good chance of rain. 615-499-6690. You really can't see it right there on the big board behind us.
Because you got all the hydrangeas.
But there it is. You can see it. Tyler has dropped that in on the screen. Thank you, sir. We do have a full cast of characters here today. That's 2 weeks in a row. So we're grateful for that. There is Cary, there is Austin, and welcome, guys. We're glad to have you here today, as always. And, of course, the one who is the pay no attention to that man behind the curtain guy, Tyler Blankenship. Tyler, you need to pot yourself up. There you go.
I'm potted up over here. Good morning. Hi. I'm going to pull myself back behind the curtain.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Tyler. And so we've got an action-packed show in store for you. We've got the air conditioner running. If you hear that in the background, that's what that is. Because it's a little sticky. If you have air conditioning problems right now, you cannot help but notice. And I noticed that there was an air conditioner that I've got to deal with after the show this morning. There was some issues with. So it's one of the things that if your unit seems like it's not cooling quite like it should, you might just do something really simple, like go out to the unit with your garden hose and spray the
can you use the hose pipe?
You can use, if you want to call it a hose pipe, if you can't decide whether it's a hose or a pipe and you need to hyphenate the word, or just simply push it all together and call it a hose pipe, you can do that. But washing the dirt out of the coil on the outside unit really can help a lot. Make sure you clean your filters.
Yes.
We had that little lesson just before the program.
Boy, didn't we?
And as soon as I took the dirty filter out, it magically started to cool.
Did it really?
How was that possible? So
you don't need to put the filter back in.
No, if you don't put the filter back in, the coil in the unit is going to get clogged up with dust. That's why the filter's there, is to keep that from happening, so that the air that's passing over the coils can grab that heat out of the air and dissipate it out into the outdoors.
You're so smart.
Well, that's just how it works, That's air conditioners don't really cool.
No,
they remove heat from the air.
Right.
That's how
it's kind of like the same way that black isn't a color; it's an absence of light.
If it's really black, yeah. 615-499-6690. I understand, Cary, we had a couple of questions hanging out there that are.
We do.
So why don't we tackle one of those and see what we come up with?
We also have some voicemails later.
We do.
All right. So either way, we're going to get to what you're thinking about. So, what you got, Cary?
All right, we're going to ease into it with a great question from a mystery person. What is David's favorite plant?
What is my favorite plant? Well, I think, given that is a question, I will punt it up here, and I will say that Aesculus parviflora. If you want to answer a question, Aesculus. Aesculus is the Latin word for it. It's a bottle brush buckeye, but that's that's a plant I like a lot. I don't know that's necessarily my favorite. There are a lot of plants out there in this world. In case you haven't noticed, just right here on the set, we have no shortage of
plants,
many different types of plants, and this is but a sampling of what we have to offer here at Bates Nursery. So that is, that's a really good plant. Right now, I would say, though, my favorite plant, without question, are edible figs. And I have the cultivar called King Alfred in my yard, and I'm picking right now
Already
6 to 8 figs a day.
already ripe?
Oh yes.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, because the reason is that we did not have sufficiently cold weather to get tip dieback on the figs. So when they don't have any tip dieback on them, they go into flower really early in the season, and you start getting fruit set almost immediately as soon as it starts to push out new growth. So consequently, we are loaded up. We might even get a second crop of figs that'll come in late, but we are really enjoying them right now. My favorite little dish for use in the figs is, and I'm trying to avoid sugar, but I do eat fruit. But figs and strawberries with whipped cream that's only slightly sweetened with a little bit of honey, it is to die for. It's awesome. So if you've got figs, that's one of my serving suggestions is the figs and strawberries with slightly sweetened whipped cream using honey. So if you use local honey, then you're getting some benefits there also from the all of the allergens and the things that the antihistamine effect that you get out of honey.
Maybe I need to start giving Sam honey. That dude, he's just all covered up in allergies. Didn't know that.
Local honey can help.
I guarantee you could find some up there.
Oh, I know I could.
So anyway, there's the answers to what's my favorite plant question, at least for this moment in time. Edible figs, sure hard to beat. The only problem I have is that the birds, I have to really, I'm going to get me a blue jay.
Now, your variety is a little taller. I've got a brown turkey that stays very low, and the squirrels and the rabbits seem to enjoy them immensely as well.
It's only very low because it hasn't been in the ground enough years to really grow. It's going to get bigger. Trust me.
Barack?
They will get quite large.
Well, but this particular one seems to freeze back to the ground every year.
Well,
and it did this year. We had one. I had one stalk that stayed.
I think that has to do with where you have it placed. I have mine situated where it's near the house on the south-facing wall, and offers it some protection, some thermal protection. It doesn't get quite as cold there. So if you have it freestanding out by itself, it doesn't get that, and you will.
I had it there in that recommended spot, but
someone said it needed to be moved.
Well, it was getting a little out. It grows out of the bounds. It gets quite big.
We have to keep it off. We've got a couple of large boxwoods on either side of this planting area that we have to really work at keeping it off the boxwoods, because you don't want boxwoods to get damaged. They're they grow quite slow and they're a much more expensive plant. So we really work hard to try to keep the figs away from it enough so that it doesn't damage those. But I'm picking the figs every day. I wake up thinking about it. I checked them before I left this morning, but usually I pick in the afternoon, and I know good and well that there's going to be a couple that the birds are going to beat me to.
You got that crazy blue jay in your neighborhood, don't you?
I don't know. Renee says she has seen a cardinal that's been in there working on them also. So anyway, that's my favorite. Michael, did you say that you had a question out there, or voicemail?
Oh, yes. We've got 2 voicemails. Let's see.
Now, this is just to demonstrate you can reach us in more than one way. You can go out to our Instagram or to our Facebook page and reach us that way. You can text us a message at 615-499-6690, or you can leave us a voicemail.
Just like Miriam here.
Miriam.
Good morning. This is Miriam, and I'm calling from Nashville. I have, which is probably kind of a silly question, but it's something that's been on my mind. Why, this year especially more than any other year I've seen, are my crepe myrtles exfoliating like crazy? It's as though their entire covering of bark is falling off of all my crepe myrtles, and it almost is concerning to me.
They're probably allergic to that shower soap that
you to help it along, or should I just wait and let it fall off naturally? Thanks so much.
Thank you, Miriam.
A loofah would help.
Yeah, I think Miriam is is just really, she's really experiencing they're passing through adolescence and getting to the mature stage. Austin, why don't you talk about that for a moment and help Miriam know that what she's seeing is nothing to be alarmed about. It's very normal.
Yes, it is normal. As crepe myrtles age and they get older, they start to peel. That's what they do. It's almost kind of a selling factor actually for us. I mean,
Absolutely.
they have that cool kind of shaggy look about them, and then once that kind of goes away, you almost get a camouflagey look, if you will, on the bark.
Is camouflagey a word?
It's
I'm just
close
curious.
enough.
It's an adjective, isn't it?
Get it. But yeah, it's nothing to worry about. I would not recommend peeling it off unless it just really, really bugs you. It'll naturally kind of fall off anyway. But yeah, it's perfectly natural for an older crepe myrtle to start to shed a little bit and show some of that bark that's kind of interesting and
Now,
different.
is that across the board with all varieties, or is there particular ones that
But there
do?
are some that are more so than others,
Yeah,
but they
that's right.
all will do it to some degree. At least I don't, except perhaps the very dwarf ones. I don't know, Austin. If I don't remember seeing them do it much, but
You just
I've
don't
got.
see it because they have leaves around the stem so much. You know, you
Correct.
see it on limbed up crepe myrtles more so, and the ones that are exposed to the sun and the air and all that. Yeah.
And I've got some really mature natches in my yard. And natches, of course, is probably the most widely used of crepe myrtles. They can get to be 25 feet plus tall if you don't trim them, and they will produce some very heavy multi-canes.
Yep.
In the tree form types, and they really do a superb job of showing the real attributes that, and I think that's really what you're talking about, Austin, is that this exfoliating bark is not a negative thing. It's an attribute of the plant. And it certainly, it's just what they do. It's not anything that's...
Well, since they're in adolescence, do they need Clearasil, or does she need to put any kind of a topical or anything on top?
No, there's nothing that you need to do. Just continue to be mindful.
Accutane, what was that the girls used to have? I mean, you'll
I
see.
have no idea.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, Miriam, I hope that helps you and gives you a sense of comfort about your crepe myrtles. They are indeed doing well. They're doing what they're supposed to do.
615-499-6690. That's one way to get us. We got another one, Michael?
We do. This one is from Martha Ann, and looks like she called and left this right after the show was over last week.
All right, well, we'll pick it up.
Hi, this is Martha Ann, and I can be reached by phone with phone call. Make it the same number of calling on. I have a question about my tile floor, and it's got an old-fashioned, probably the regular old tile, probably asbestos, and I don't know. But anyway, it's in my garage in Donaldson, and I'm thinking about what to do to get rid of it and to cover it up and put regular like ceramic tile, like the Cary tile actually. And could you give me a call back and see if you can answer that this morning? And just some options and some cautions or whatever. Thank you.
And Martha Ann, this is one of those type of things that you're going to probably really need to see a specialist about. But your assumption that there is possibility that there would be asbestos in that floor tile is pretty safe to say that there's a 50-50 chance that it does include it.
So it means it either does or it doesn't.
Nah, pretty much, but it depends on the age and what they did. But
I'm
in a
pretty
garage,
sure her home is an older home, so
Right.
the older it is, the greater statistical probability is that that's the case.
Yeah.
So in her case, it would be probably safe to say she should assume that there is asbestos until she sees that there is not.
Right,
Exactly.
and that would have been a much better way of saying
Yeah.
that. You're so smart too.
I try to be.
Everybody's smart today.
Now,
But as far as the substrate and what you want to go over the top of it with, I have seen some really cool floor coatings that are being done with really high tech paints that are doing. You can have sparkles and you can have appliques put into your floor.
now what treatment did our good friend Jim Stevens use on his tile that he did around his fireplace and hearth that he put in?
He actually put ceramic tile down.
You're right.
Yeah, and again, you're going to have to. It's not the easiest of homeowner projects to do. A lot of folks try it. A lot of people get very, very frustrated in doing it. You have to have a couple of tools, and you have
the hardest thing about doing it is watching a professional do it, and it appears easy.
Just piss you off when you get into it and try to get it going with it, because it's not
that easy, and there's a lot of measurement, there's a whole lot of cutting, and
and you have to really the measurements and the
Jim
layouts.
did a masterful job on his. It was really now one thing I will add as a caveat, Martha Ann, is that if you can determine first that in a small area sample whether or not
Chip it up.
has asbestos in it or not, that's
Get it
vital
tested.
information to know, because it will help you to determine
How to go about it.
Yes, because it may be that you go, okay, we got to go over the top of this and leave it in place. And that's more than likely the case.
And it's probably going to be the easiest thing to do either way, because if
Right.
you've got a garage floor and you've got concrete underneath the bottom of it and it's level, you're going to be doing. But I don't know, do you really want to be driving your car onto ceramic tile? It's not going to be for me.
Then does she didn't indicate whether she's actually using this as a
It's
parking
just
area.
her garage
Her
that
garage.
she seems to be
Right.
remodeling.
Right.
Okay.
So anyway, I hope that helps you, Martha Ann. But you do take the time to figure out whether it is or not before you go into.
You can
taking
chip
that
a little
up.
piece of it. Just don't sand it. Don't in any form or fashion sand it and try to do anything with it.
And as you said, almost certainly, it's better either way. Just
Just
leave
cr-
it in place. It's a lot easier that way. 615-499-6690. Hey, I'm going to take just a moment here and we'll switch gears quickly. We're going to talk about where we are here, and that's Bates Nursery and Garden Center. And if you're a Bates Rewards member, and you know who you are, I do a weekly newsletter.
Every week.
Every week, and surprisingly, I would say shockingly, I have more than 26,000 people who subscribe to the newsletter, and I'm really appreciative of that, and I'm always grateful to have input and questions that come through that. And you can, if you want to get on there and you're not, you can just go to batesnursery.com and just scroll down the page, and right there you'll see the newsletter. Put your name and email address in, and it'll come to you. And if you decide you no longer want to receive it, you can just unsubscribe in the link in the newsletter. We make it really quick and easy. We don't spam you. We don't share your information with anyone else. It's just me to you talking about whatever it is I'm talking about. This week I talked about trimming, and this is the time of year when you need to be thinking about that, and we'll bring that up more with Austin here just in a little bit. But it's also the time of year when we've got a lot of good rains going on. It's a great time to plant, and we're offering for our Bates Rewards members this week, that's through Thursday, 15% off all Monrovia plants, and also we're offering 15% off Earth Mix Supernatural. Now, that's either in bags or in bulk, so it's a great additive.
Bulk as well?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Went out full out this week. So if you're looking for that, it does. The deliveries and gift cards are not included on that, obviously. But if you want to bring your trailer out, you can save big on that, and it's a great additive to your soil, an organic source of nutrition for your plant. So if you want to go around and top dress areas with it, you're going to really see fantastic results. So check that out, Earth Mix Supernatural. Both bag and bulk, as you see there on the screen, 15% off, along with all Monrovia plants. And we've got a lot of, not everything we have in here this morning is Monrovia plants, but a great deal of them are. And so no matter what you're looking for, whether these echinaceas like here in front of me, a lot of things to choose from at Monrovia. We are the largest reseller of Monrovia plants in Middle Tennessee, so we invite you to come check out the extensive selection we have, 15% off on all those things through Thursday. And remind you, we are just a mile north of Briley Parkway at exit 19 on Whites Creek Pike. It's just minutes from Rivergate, Opry Mills, Nashville West, or downtown Nashville, and it's worth the drive no matter where you're coming from. Take photographs with your smartphone or your tablet and bring those along with you. That helps our landscape professionals like Austin and others to look at your unique landscape situation and help you to get the right plants in the right place the first time. That's the way we do it at Bates Nursery, and of course we do endorse wholeheartedly the entire line of Earth Mix garden products. So check all those out here at Bates Nursery, or go out online to batesnursery.com. Beautifying Nashville since 1932. My grandmother started this business way back when. So thank you, Nanny. That's what we called her for that. So
Nanny Bates.
So I appreciate your allowing us to have a moment to talk about that.
And Jude Wilder Roberts says she visited here yesterday and bought a few crepe myrtles and can't wait to get the new Thunderstruck in the ground. What's a Thunderstruck, Dawson?
Thunderstruck. That's a purple leaf white bloomer. I believe. There's a whole Thunderstruck series, actually. There's multiple varieties within the same, but it is a dark leaf crepe myrtle, which have been kind of cool. They've been popular. They're different. I mean, that leaf literally almost looks black.
Yeah, they kind of remind you from the foliage standpoint of a Laura petalum almost. They're so dark. At first, it's easy to misinterpret what it is you're looking at, but simply because they don't have foliage color like any other crepe myrtles. I mean, it is that very deep, almost purple-looking foliage.
Very
on it.
unique, then.
Yeah, they're different. There's a whole other series too, the ebony series, like Ebony Flame, which is a dark leaf red bloom, which is pretty dramatic. They're fairly new to me, so I've been watching them around town. There's one that I pass every day that I've been watching for the past 2 seasons, and what I've noticed is they seem a little slower than regular crepe myrtles. I don't know if they're going to end up being the same size eventually, but this one that I've been watching, it's a dark leaf. It's a black leaf white is what I've seen.
Wow.
And that's got to be the most stark contrast there is. Now, the other thing that we don't really know until we get plants in the landscape is what their ability to handle drought or their ability to handle cold weather is. And those are always a couple of questions. I would say it's safe to say crepe myrtles are not your best as far as dry weather type of plants. You're going to need to really make sure you keep them addressed. We have to do additional, and we overhead irrigate the entire lot. But when we're having really hot sunny days, we have to additionally hand water the crepe myrtles again during the course of the day, just because they transpire so much water, much more so than other plants do.
Well, and that brings up a question or a statement from me. Just because we're getting these pop-up showers around, folks, don't assume that you're going to get the rain.
Well, you know what happens when you assume.
Yeah, yes, I do.
Okay.
And it happens often. But if you have a 40% chance of rain, that means that 40% of the area is going to get rain. It doesn't mean that everybody has a 40% chance. So it may be raining like crazy in Mount Juliet or Whites Creek Pike, and Murfreesboro and Christiana don't get a drop.
See,
And
the way I've always thought about it, when someone says a 40% chance of rain, I always hear 60% chance it won't.
And both those are true statements.
Yeah.
So, it's a
Because I got mad the other day. I was out watering like a fool.
Well, you know what? All that does when it rains after you water it, it makes the water you put down
Neighbors
more
were laughing.
effective.
Ha, 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 ha.
Hey, your plants are going to be doing well because you're out there, giving them the attention. 615-499-6690. Cary, you got another Instagram message out there?
Yes, I do. From Remy5. How do you replace a single pane on a multi-panel window?
Josh?
Yeah.
Do you call a glazer?
You can call them anything you want to.
Well, I know, but we didn't
because glass is a pain anyway. You know that, don't you?
There it is.
Really depends on what your type is. One piece of glass. We're gonna make some assumptions that these are old windows, and they are putty glazed old wood windows.
Because it would be very different if it's a new construction where these are units that have an argon gas or something in between. I mean, that's very different.
And the construction types are, again, in most cases, you're going to have a house. Let's just say you had a window that had 3 panes wide, 2 panes high on the top and the bottom. If you have an insulated glass unit, in most cases these days, that's one big piece of glass, even though it looks like 6 on top and 6 on the bottom.
It's just stuff that's stuck in there to make it look like.
But if you have the old wood windows, and there's still bunches and bunches of them out there, putty knife, glazer's putty, a razor knife, screwdriver, start scraping the old out, get it nice and clean, get a new piece of glass, put it in the hole. They've got another little thing called a glazer's point. You can get them. You'll get a lifetime supply in the one box.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. They're not expensive. They simply slide in on the top of the glass. And then you get your cake battering skills, and you make your putty glaze line around the bottom of it. So I mean, it takes a while, and it can get frustrating as well because
again, it's one of those skills when you watch someone who's a professional do it, you go, "Well, that looks easy.
Yeah,
I can do that."
because that'll
and, and I'm not saying that you can't do it, but
no.
Getting those nice straight caulk lines and glazing line. I mean, it's
where
more
it'll
different.
pass inspection by the project manager and the facilities.
It is more difficult
because if you have a 1/16 of an inch variance on this side versus the other side, and it doesn't match the other 3 panes in the glass, it's hell to pay, man. I mean, you're going to do it again. You might as well do it right the first time. But finding a place, again, if you go to cut a piece of glass, I have had experience in it. You would probably want to seek maybe an Ace Hardware store. A lot of those places still cut glass. They're hard to find. The big box stores, check your measurements before you leave the store. Okay.
Right.
Please check your measurements.
If you had an opening, I'm just going to throw some numbers and it measured 6 inches wide and 8 inches tall. That's how wide the opening is. What would you want to have the glass cut at?
Me?
You, yes.
5 7/8 by 7 7/8.
So you're going to take 1/8 of an inch off length and width.
Yes.
Okay.
Now that's going to give you a tight fit. It's going to
little-
give you a little bit of wiggle, but not too much.
So you need to make sure and measure all the way down to make sure there's not any variance in that.
Well, you can take your razor knife and you can adjust the hole, or you can adjust the glass, and that's a whole lot easier to adjust the hole at that
And
point.
all this applies well if you're talking about an old style window, but if you're talking about a new style of windows that are a low E,
doesn't matter when it's coated,
argon
but insulated glass units where you're going to have the grills between the glass, or the simulated divided lights, or authentic divided light, depending upon which brand it is.
And explain to people what that means when you say that, because not everybody understands what you're talking about. Divided light. I mean, breaking the light into, is there prisms in there? I mean, what you're talking about is the little partitions that are between
Muntins.
We got to get our terminology.
Not mutton.
Muntins.
Okay. Now, they are primarily what you'll see these days is the grills between the glass, or GBG. Some people call it GIA, grills in the airspace. That means that it is between. It's the meat of the sandwich. You've got the inside pane and the outside pane, and then you've got the bologna on the inside.
Okay.
Or ham. I'm kind of.
You're a fried bologna kind of guy, aren't you? You know?
No. You will replace that whole pane, or you will replace the sash around
the whole sash around.
Now, don't get in a hurry these days, folks. Window companies have all lost their minds. It is, if you were to order one today,
6 months.
In some cases.
So
12, 13 weeks is pretty much.
So you might consider doing a temporary,
living with it.
A temporary fix. Maybe stick a piece of cut plexiglass in there to get you by until.
It depends on it depends on the depth and the breadth of the break. Now, if you've got an insulated piece of glass, there are companies that you can get it from in town, and you can have it installed. Check your local phone book if you find one. Evans Glass comes to mind. But again, you've got all kinds of different things that are and factors that are involved. If you've got a break, and the first thing that you would probably want to do is get some clear packing tape and cover the entire, because most of the time glass will break. It'll be in the insulated units will take a long run from one corner to the other.
Right.
Or a little small crack from the corner to corner. The thermal efficiency is not really affected. It's not what it was designed to do, but you're not going to freeze to death because you've got one cracked window on the inside on the house this winter, because you might be waiting until February to get it.
You're likely better off if it's a situation where you have a window unit, is to tape over it with clear packing tape and leave it in place, get your thing ordered, and then just wait.
And make sure you've ordered the right thing the first time. Please order the right thing.
There's probably going to be numbers on the sash when you fold it out.
All the different vendors will have labels. Sometimes they're in the top, sometimes they're on the side of the sash. Keeping good records from your product is going to be.
I'm going to guess here that if you tilt that out and you can take a photograph of that number and all, and share that information with your supplier, that's going to statistically raise your possibilities and probabilities of getting the right thing the first time. At least you have a trail to be able to say, well, this is what I sent to you.
David, that's a very good thought, but we have to understand that the manufacturers put all kinds of labels onto these things. There are National Fenestration Rating Council labels. That one almost always stays because it's pretty and it's usually in there. The product ID labels are located usually in the head jam on the sides, but there are different types of labels. You might see a shipping label from a manufacturer that is to the vendor that it was sold to. But
you should be able, if you take pictures of all the labels that are on there, you should be able to talk to your supplier and say which one of these is the numbers you're looking for.
Right, and hopefully the manufacturer is still in business. There have been quite a bit of consolidation, and there have been a few that have gone by the wayside.
A lot of things have changed in the last year. There's been a lot of disruptions.
Really?
Particularly if you're, automotive wise, it has nothing to do with windows, but
one other thing, there is a very important measurement that is, if the label information is not forthcoming, the daylight opening is very key.
So don't measure it at night, is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, you got it. Well, what you can see daylight through. You can try to do it with the dark.
Oh, okay.
But daylight opening is one of the things that becomes very, very important to have.
All right. Well, we hope that answered your question and gave you some information.
Check your glass, but again, get your glass size properly.
Okay, well, let's pitch it back here. I think it's time for a plant rant.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
With Cary Gant?
Yeah. She just needs to vent a little. It's Plant Rants with Cary Gant.
Kind of early today, but I'm excited and always ready.
Well, I just want to make sure we don't want to leave you. Hey, you've prepared. You've brought in special items for us to talk about, and you've kind of got a little theme going there. I believe I see what it is based on what you've got there, but talk to us about what you've got in front of us there and how people who are the avid gardeners, and I think that's what we all kind of fall into, why would you want those kind of plants you've got in front?
Well, one, because they're awesome and amazing and my favorite kind of plants. But we've been touching on drought-tolerant plants. I know we had a webinar here that did yesterday that will probably be released next week. So I just wanted to touch on that a little bit. Cacti, succulents are my favorite house plants, and there are some that you can plant outside here in Zone 7 in Middle Tennessee that will come back every year. So this yucca in front of me, we'll talk about that first. It is something you can plant outside. It's going to come back. It's going to get pretty tall. I think it probably tops out at about 4 feet. And I don't know if you've seen them bloom before, but they're amazing.
Yeah.
That bloom spike is really, really tall. And it's going to stay pretty much like this all winter. You will have like a little bit of dieback on the lower leaves, but it'll add some color to your landscape, make it a little pretty and less sad. And then this cactus.
But there's nothing worse than a sad winter landscape.
No,
what a yucca.
Sad and depressing.
A sad yucca.
Yuccas are never sad,
no.
Unless they poke you, and then you get sad.
They will bite.
Oh, they will bite you
Yes.
hard. I have a few in my garden that have gotten me quite a few times. And some cacti in my yard as well. So to its left, we have a spineless prickly pear. It's Elsiana. This is fairly hardy here in Tennessee if you did want to try it outside. It's not going to be guaranteed. There are some prickly pear cacti that do a lot better.
Well, there are natives here.
Yeah, there are natives here.
They actually produce some really good fruit on them.
Yes.
I get fruit off mine at home. They're smaller and they kind of topple over, so they grow like very low to the ground.
Right.
I have a lot of different kinds. This one's
You don't
nice.
want to fall on them. Those are not thorns.
No, they're not. And I've also run into a lot of those in my garden bed as well. This one is spineless, so that's a nice thing. You can touch it, you can grab it. It's not going to bite you and get spines all in
And
your
in
hand.
an argument, it'll just wilt away because it is spineless. Yes.
That's right, this spineless cactus right here. So these are two. Again, this one isn't going to be guaranteed to come back every year. There are more that are a little more hardy here, and we do have our native prickly pear.
Is that the edible variety? There are some of those that are edible.
This one right here?
Yeah.
They are edible. They have the fruit, and then you can cook the pads. I believe I've never done it with mine before. You might remove the outer skin, especially if it's one with spines on it. So I'm not going to say whether or not this one is edible because I don't know for sure. And Josh, I don't want you to go home and eat it and then have something bad happen to you. Yeah, that would be real sad.
I would tell you that it is quite tasty on the prickly pears with you there. I mean, it's wonderfully tasty. So, but you do need to be adept at removing the spines.
Yes, you do.
If
And
you can
I've
get
had-
somebody else to do it for you, that's always a good thing.
Yeah. I've had a few cactus tacos in my life that were very good. So just moving on to some more houseplant cacti, you can stick all of these outside this time of year. They're going to be really happy. They're going to thrive. Quite a few of these in like bright, full sun, but then you are going to have to bring them in the winter. So this one to my left, this Peruvian apple cactus, I actually have 4 of these at home. One of them has probably reached about, I'd say 16 feet tall. I have to keep topping it. Yeah, it's exciting. I stick them outside, full sun. I let them get rained on. I don't keep them covered. They grow pretty quickly, a couple feet a year, which is a lot for a cactus.
Yeah.
I love it. And then bring them in the winter as long as they get plenty of light. They'll do just fine. They go pretty dormant. I water them like once a month.
When you top it, does it come back like with 2 new pads, 3 new, 1 new?
Sometimes, usually it's just one. You just take a clean cut. It takes a good month and a half for anything to grow out. You know, it doesn't look great.
Machete.
Okay, now when you
It
do,
is fun to chop.
now when you do cut that, Cary, do you lay that aside in a dry spot, allow it to callus over, and then repot it, and then you have another
And
one?
then
She
you
has
have a
4.
baby. That's
wow.
why I have 4. And I've actually given a lot away. Yeah, you top it, set what you took off aside in kind of a dark, dry spot. I usually let mine callus for like a good 2.5 weeks and then stick it in some dry, sandy soil. It roots really quickly. I actually propped one because my dog knocked it over in the winter. And it did fine. So
Does it push new growth over the winter, or does it wait till spring? when
I
you put it
have
out?
had mine push new growth in the winter and bloom in my house. Usually doesn't happen. I think, you know, cactus clearly just love me, so they gave me beauty in the winter when it was cold outside.
There you go.
So, and then over here in front of Austin, we got this bad boy right here, this old man cactus. Can you see him? Austin, show him off. Get those Vanna White hands going. Yeah.
Yeah, carefully, though.
Yeah, careful Vanna White hands.
Yeah, those are.
So this is
Mean.
those are mean. Yeah, they look kind of like spiders.
That's not one of those you have if you've got toddlers around the house.
No,
right?
definitely
That'll
not.
teach them no. I can tell you that.
Well, they'll either learn or
Or have some really resentful memories from childhood.
and it's about a wash, about 50-50,
Yeah.
which way that'll go. So
I've had guests over and kids, and lots of people have run into my cactus and, you know, gotten.
Do they just think you have like a house of horrors at this point, where
My
they
house?
where they're just running into
Oh.
like spikes all the time?
Yeah, it's like an obstacle course in the winter in my house, trying to get to the bathroom in the middle of the night. Yeah,
Ooh.
plants, cacti.
Yeah, don't put the
everywhere.
old man cactus in that path.
No, you don't want it there. And in front of that is it's a euphorbia, so it's not technically a cactus. The difference is it has thorns and not spines. And there's a lot of plants in the euphorbia family. It's just endless.
This is a euphorbia
So,
too.
Yeah, this one is
so
as
if you
well.
really enjoy it, you will say you're having a euphoric experience.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly, which is what I've had with mine. Mine is now about probably 6 feet tall. I have a different variety that's about 9 feet tall that I'm going to have to repot soon. That's going to be a challenge and really fun. And I think we're going to video it and release it on our Instagram page. So
You know what's amazing to me is that poinsettias are also in the euphorbia genus, which is weird.
Yeah.
They're so different than all the other euphorbias.
It's
And you wonder how they figure that out. I mean, how, you know, and then then they go along every so many years. It seems like. And they go, well, we misclassified this. We've been calling it this all these years. Now it's going to be called that. And we have to.
That's the marketing department that came up with that.
I don't know, the people out there who run the
Uh-huh.
Hortus Third and all that kind of stuff. They're going, well, this is actually
The Hortus Third.
Hortus Third is like the gospel. It's a book that's about this.
Kind of like the Horcrux.
It has pretty much everything in it.
Oh.
That plant wise.
Okay.
So, if you had all that information in your head, you'd be pretty smart.
Well, I think the marketing people are the one. We've kind of run the road on the Red Rockets. Let's call it the Crimson Raider.
Now, what you don't get in Hortus Third are very much depth in new cultivars, because it's more about the existing plants, the old world knowledge, which is exhaustive and very extensive. But you won't get things like on Echinacea. You won't have all the new cultivars that are out there. You won't. You'll just have the basic coverage on it, and there might be some mention of older cultivars, but not much beyond that. So, all right, final thoughts on it, Cary, before we end this rant.
Almost slapped Austin in the face there. Yeah, it's just, these are exciting plants to me. We have a lot in our new area of the garden center currently, and come on out. They're a great summer plant. They're drought tolerant. They require basically neglect. The more love you give them, the more likely they are that they're going to die. So, good plant if you forget about your plants, like I do from time to time.
Well, you have so many, it's just hard.
I do.
You forget about some.
I have about, I'd say, 200 houseplants. So
It's up there.
yeah, it is up there.
Yeah,
But you have healthy air quality in your home.
I do.
Yes.
Very healthy in there.
And when you do come out, you will notice that we're replacing the roof on the garden center greenhouse area. So that area is blocked off right now. You kind of have to walk around either below the building or through the actual garden center building, and all the plants are outside just to the right side of the building if you were facing it from the road. So they're all there. They just aren't inside, and hopefully within a couple of weeks we'll have this project completed and we'll be back inside, and it'll be better than it's ever been.
Well, it's going to be amazing. And just speaking of that, we did have, it's not necessarily a question, but one request on our Instagram was that we have a houseplant tour, which I know Tyler did last week on this show. So there is a request for that. Maybe we could put it on our social media page.
Okay.
All right. Tyler's the guy. He
is
can
the
make
guy.
he can make that happen.
The master of the universe. David, I am intrigued. And this, it almost looks like a red tip Photinia. And
That's the crepe myrtle weird. That's the dark leaf crepe myrtle.
that's just, this is the crepe myrtle we were talking about?
That's one of them. There's
See, you've got a little pink flower there. I don't know if you can barely make that out. If I can get it in front of that white flower, you might be able to spot it.
Well, it almost looks like it's going to have two different color flowers, because that one little bloom up there is.
That's already faded a bit.
Oh, okay.
Right there. So, but yes, that it really gives you a great example of just how non-crepe myrtle the foliage looks. We're not accustomed to seeing it with that black or very dark purple.
Mama said I couldn't bring home any more plants.
And that one doesn't green up either. That's something to note as well, is that a lot
It'll
of crepe
stay-
myrtle, it come out with red new growth and then soften to green as it ages. Those don't. Their lowest leaves are even still almost just as dark as the top leaves. So
Wow.
Which
it's
is a
all the
really
way
good,
up.
which is really a good sign as far as they've really done their homework and their trials on making
And it's going to
sure
look better in a bush form than it is a tree form. I mean, obviously that's going to
Well,
be.
so much of the look is the foliage. I mean, it's not just about flowers on it. It has a great looking foliage. So, there's another interesting plant to use in the landscape. I want to change gears for just a moment here and talk about Earth Mix garden products. And if you're a serious gardener, you want to have the best come out of your efforts. When you go digging in the ground and you plant these wonderful plants, they're not cheap. You want them to have the best opportunity to do their very best. You get that when you use Earth Mix garden products. And Earth Mix garden products are available at fine garden centers and other retail establishments all over Middle Tennessee, Kentucky, even up in Ohio, Indiana, and other areas coming soon. So what makes Earth Mix different? Well, one thing is that it's 100% organic. It's 100% sustainably produced. It's done so right here in Middle Tennessee. And what you get from that is the very best of the organic inputs that Mother Nature provides is what goes into it. The Supernatural, for instance, it has earthworm castings in there. It has pine bark in there. It has softwood compost added to it, leaf compost.
Wow.
It's got wheat straw in there. It also has mycorrhiza fungi and humic acid that's added to it, and that will make you ooh and ah.
It will. It does.
And what you get when you put all these great things in there is you get more than just a soil. You get a dynamic additive that really adds vitality to the environment around your plant. It gives you Mother Nature's own fertilizer, and so try that out. Earth Mix Supernatural is a great product to choose, or any of them. Many of the other products in the line, by the way, have Supernatural as one of the ingredients in it. So no matter which way, you're likely getting some of that in there, whether it's garden or Proganics O or landscape. So check out all the great products. If you want to know where to get it, go to the website earthmix.net and click on the Find Earth Mix tab right there. And when you do so, you're going to see a map come up with all these little points on it. And they're all over Middle Tennessee, Kentucky. So you can either zoom in or you can put in the address bar up here, your zip code or address, and it'll give you turn-by-turn directions for the location nearest you. Remember, this success in gardening begins at the ground level when you use Earth Mix garden products. We appreciate you giving us a moment to talk about that. Check it out. You're going to get the best results out of your plants when you do that. 615-499-6690. That's how you reach us here, whether it's by voicemail or text. You can also reach us on the At Home Show Instagram page, also the At Home Show Facebook page. We got any other messages out there?
Yes, we do. We actually have two left. One from KKW426. Why is my hibiscus not blooming?
Good question.
You're the only one in town who doesn't have a hibiscus that's blooming.
He's got it in the closet.
It depends on if we're talking perennial or annual hibiscus or tropical. You know.
It's difficult to discern that from the question.
It is. Now, I will say I'm guessing she's talking about the tropical form of hibiscus. Sometimes that one I have noticed. If you take that from a small pot, if you buy it early in the season, put it in a nice big pot, what happens is it decides to throw green growth. It really wants to get big and bushy, and it doesn't bloom until later in the season. Also, too, hibiscus is a full sun lover, and an excess nitrogen environment is not good for a hibiscus either. So if you're actually nutrient rich in nitrogen, you are going to get a lot of green growth, not a lot of blooms. So I'm assuming that's what's going on. Once they get big enough and fill out their pot, they will start blooming. But it's not an all summer type of environment if you move them up like that.
And that high nitrogen situation you're talking about is very common when you're using a chemical type of fertilizer. Right. Because you can flash out a whole lot of ammoniacal nitrogen.
You mean that miracle stuff?
It's not really a miracle. It's got fertilizer in there. So, but what happens when you use those chemical fertilizers? A lot of times you get that ammonium nitrate that really hits hard and fast. It pushes a lot of growth, but as you said, it really works against the production of flowers. So what you want is a balanced and an even distribution of that energy that you're delivering to the plant, and you're going to get a lot better chance on getting flowers that way, and also
a higher middle number on the analysis.
Yeah, the hibiscus ought to have a minimum of 8 hours of sunlight. So if you're not getting 8 hours, you're really going to cut back how quickly it will go into flower, and also the numbers of buds.
So it'll be a low biscus.
It'll be low on the production end of the flowers. Mm-hmm. All right. What else you got, Cary?
All right, we do have one left from M88 Vintage. I'm tired of cleaning out my gutters. Someone told me about leaf guards. Do they work?
Yes.
Yes, and
you have to be.
First of all, there are all manner of different products.
Yes.
And we've tried. I think we're on our third one. And
because you had that really good one that filled up the whole trough there for a while.
I thought it was functioning okay, but
until it got full of granule from the shingles, and then
I think the message came down from someone else that it was not a good choice. So, I have not been involved in this part of the process of my domiciled existence.
The facilities manager took care of this.
I just kind of go along with it. I go, well, we need to change it. Let's just change it.
There are gutter caps. They all have their pluses. They all have their minuses. Some of them are significantly more expensive than the others.
And it doesn't necessarily make them all that much better if they're...
No.
really expensive. They might be better.
And if you I'm a big fan of larger gutters in as a rule.
Yes.
You don't want to use
okay,
this.
And a 6-inch gutter is what you would call a larger gutter, right?
The larger trough. I'm a big fan of those. It has to do the amount of your trees, the type of your trees that you have.
When you use a larger gutter, you're also going to have a larger downspout.
Downpipe, so it get a little bit. And if you got enough pitch, you're going to have a little bit better. I put a gutter cap on when we had the roof done this year. So, but it's a mesh type and 4-foot sections. That's what I chose to use. There are a lot of, and I'm also a cheap SOB.
I haven't looked lately to see what we're currently using, but I think ours is some kind of a mesh type.
Well, and they all will get clogged. Don't let them.
If you've got trees that put leaves down, those leaves are going to fall on there and they're going to get wet and they're going to get
If you have pine trees, if you have, let's say pine trees and pine needles that fall on top of, even the ones that have the troughs that are formed on top and that fall into it, that pine needle is sticky. I don't know if you ever tried to get them off of your car after a rain. You ever had that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, they have this sappy thing in
it kind of sticks and then it kind of rolls on down around. So they all, but if you get a guarantee that they won't clog and they'll come out and clean them, hey, it's your money. But do your homework. And we used to say a lot, get 3 opinions and look at 3 different things and ask for references as the way you want to go.
I will say that probably one of the factors.
But gutter coil is very, 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 very hard to get right now, as I understand. Very hard to get.
I would say that the choice you make on what kind of leaf guard type system you use will have to do with what kind of trees. If you're dealing with pine needles, you might use one type. If you're dealing with maple trees or other like larger leaves, you might use another type. Then you might have a willow oak, which produces so many leaves that nothing's going to. You're really better off to not have any. Just clean it out every year or twice a year or 3 times a year and just live with it.
You can do like the yard boy does. He gets on the roof. And he takes
I have been prohibited
from doing that.
I have been forbidden.
I have too. I'm a moratorium on getting on the roof.
But strangely, the project manager has not been. That same policy does not work
for her.
For her,
oh.
Yes. I don't understand why. I'm the guy who's been up walking on structures and all my entire life, but it's more dangerous for me than.
You will need to be very careful, and if you get up there with your leaf blower, and it also helps you from keeping the compressing your gutters. But if you got to get up there and change the
gravity sucks. Just remember.
Yes.
And so don't fall, and be very careful. And
what do you use?
A garden trowel and a garden hose.
Yeah.
And I've seen these devices that goes on the end of your hose that points down where you can wash it out.
Yeah.
Boy, you talk about need to wear heavy rain.
I mean, you're gonna make a mess, but it's it's clean when I'm done.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, how many times a year do you do it?
Oh, 4, basically once a season.
Do you really?
Mm-hmm.
You said it like a reminder to get out there to do it, or?
No, I have a wife. She tells me when to do it. So she looks out her kitchen window and she goes, "Hey, our gutters are kind of crappy." And I was like, "Okay." So I get out there, get it done. So
you throw it down on a little man.
No, he wants to climb up on the ladder.
Yeah.
So it's.
Oh my goodness, 615-499-6690. But choose wisely, and you just choose. Well, just see, they all work. They all have their problems. They all have their issues.
Yeah,
so.
You're not going to pick one that's going to.
David used to endorse one that I used to laugh at him about because it literally it would fill the whole trough.
Well, actually, it didn't. It's like a triangle thing. It covers the top, and then it had a cavity in there. I thought they worked okay, but then somebody suggested that they weren't working okay, and so they came out, and I did not resist.
Them not working, if you have a very steep pitch on your house, on your roof on your house, in a gully wash and rain or a thunderstorm that drops significant precipitation.
Well, having a gutter cover on there at all when you're having heavy downpours are not good.
Well, it's
Because
going
they
to
can't
jump up.
handle-
It's
Yeah, it
go- it's
can't.
going to jump the
doesn't-
trough any way you go with
Yeah,
it.
any type that you use will do that.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they say they won't. And in a shower, that's true. But when you're having a deluge, it's going to be going straight off.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the way it works. So,
That's the way it is.
Don't be alarmed by that.
Don't be alarmed now.
No.
You don't have to double up on your worry.
No, well, you can. I don't know how much it'll help you, but you can double up on your worry. Hey, one thing I don't want you to worry about is that we're going to be back next week.
Every week.
Please tune in. If you didn't catch all the show, check us out on our Facebook page or YouTube. We got a lot of content out there. We appreciate you tuning in this week, as always, to the At Home Show.
That's right, folks. And for everybody here from the Green Room Studios, we do thank you.
Happy
for
anniversary, Renee. It was our 36th yesterday.
13,150
Congratulations.
days today.
Today is 13,150, yes. So
Congratulations.
thank you.
All righty. All right, folks.